There's too much confusion. I can't get no relief. Businessmen, they drink my wine. Romantic my earth. All along the watchtower. All right, I look like I am in the light. Is that a bright light?
No, I just need to figure out what the hell's going on here. How about this?
Done on.
How's
Oh,
that?
goodness. Oh, it was this.
Oh.
Anyway. Just technical bullshit. I thought that Star Trek would have already... Wouldn't that be cool if everybody could just be beamed up? I'm sure somewhere somebody can do it. Let's get this guy in the frame here. There you go. Oh my gosh, you guys. The weeks are going by fast, aren't they? Just when it was last Sunday, it's this Sunday. And that's the way it goes, I guess, right? It's I feel like time itself is speeding up. You know? Time itself, I don't know, something's occurring in the great law of nature. Yeah. Fingers on fire. Yeah, Michael said your fingers are on fire.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. That was Watchtower, as we all know, the great Jimi Hendrix song. And you know, it's really amazing how a lot of times I never paid attention to lyrics, or as you get older, you start to realize the lyrics of music that you used to listen to when you were younger or whatever, and you start to realize that they have such a lot of deep esoteric meaning, right? I mean, I knew that, but I didn't know like I know now, and it's pretty cool to understand that now. I mean, there must be some kind of way out of here. Said the Joker to the thief. There's too much confusion. I can't get no relief. Businessmen, they drink my wine. Plowmen dig my earth. None will level on the line. Nobody offered his word. No reason to get excited. The thief he kindly spoke. There are many here among us who feel that life is but a joke. But you and I, we've been through that. And this is not our fate. So let us stop talking falsely now. The hour's getting late. Hey! It's pretty cool, right? I think it's pretty cool. How are you guys doing? I'm a little bit off today, but I'm going to get on. How are you guys feeling? Terry, I see you're on. Michael, you're on. I see Jackie's on. Anyway, so I'm going to repeat my name because I keep forgetting to do that for people who will watch this later on, because again, my homies are always coming through. My name is Cristel de Pacheco, and I am Neo-Luciferian Gnostic Priestess, Lumen Sophia. That is my priestess name. And this is Church on the B-Sides. This is where you take church and you flip it upside down and inside out, and that's what this is. And that means a lot of things at the same time. You know, think about what does church mean to you when you think about the idea of church? You think of God outside of yourself. You think of a religion. You think of maybe a patriarchy if you're a feminist and you're understanding what's going on and how this all sort of turned into what it is today. You think of male rule. You think of maybe even machine rule. You think of it's certainly not nature that's in charge of the laws of nature. It's the man-made laws that are in charge of church, right? Women cannot become priests in the church. There are some new churches that are Christian based that have allowed women to be priests, that have ordained gay men and lesbian women, and so on. But when we think about church in general, we think that they're still centered around this idea of Jesus being the ultimate savior for mankind, you know? So this is sort of the inverse of that, and that We think that we are our own saviors of ourselves, thusly mankind, and that the light of God is within us, just like you hear in the church. But I feel like that's something people just say and they nod their heads, right? They say and they nod their heads and they don't really know what that means. I feel like a lot of people don't know what it means. It means that you're the answer and you're the question. You know, you ask the question and you wait for, like a lot of people wait for God to drop the rice from the sky to give us the nourishment and feed us and feed our soul and feed our bodies. And yes, we have to feed ourselves, but we're responsible to know what it is we need and to provide it for ourselves somehow. And this is what our will is. So we are our own question and we are our own answer and we are our own salvation. Because if we keep giving our power away in real passive ways and real unconscious ways to all things outside of us, it is in nature that whatever has the power is going to consume what it is, what it is overpowering. And this is what I hope that Church on the B-Sides is something that reminds us of our true nature. Because I think that ultimately, because of religion, Christianity in particular, I think all Abrahamic religions, but since we have built this entire empire on the basis of the philosophy of Christianity, right, of the ideas of Christianity, then we have given our power away and we're hoping that somebody will tell us what to do. What's right and what's wrong. And so this is a return to our own nature and not be ashamed of our nature, but to just accept it. We are animals. We are selfish. We are afraid. We have shame, which is actually something that is placed in our hearts and in our minds by religion. It's not something natural. So this is what Church on the B-Sides is. It's a place to remember human nature, not to damn human nature, not to judge human nature, and not to feel ashamed of our human nature, but to instead examine it closely, accept it, because there's nothing we can do about our human nature other than become our own steward over our own nature. That is what we're here to do. And so the church and religion and this patriarchy for all these thousands of years now, it has externalized the salvation, which is what it's got to do if it wants to overpower people. So this is what Church on the B-Sides is. It's an exploration of the remembrance of our true nature. And also, not just to remember it, but not to shame it. We don't have to. We can examine it, and we can have fun examining it, okay? It doesn't have to be always so serious or dark or heavy. It's a heavy topic, but we can actually have fun and find joy in exploring the dark truths. Why not? What's wrong with having fun while you're looking in Pandora's box? I think it actually helps, to turn it into a carnival. I think it makes it fun for me, and this is how I've been able to explore my own traumas, my own interpersonal darkness, and my own unknown, which is scary, is I put on a top hat and a priest shirt and a cunt cape, and I go in there with my wooden devil, and it makes it a lot more fun. So this is what this is, and thanks for coming. I haven't introduced, I invited a bunch of people to like Church on the B-Sides, so we have a lot more people on the page now. And so welcome. In case you're wondering what the hell this is, I hope that I've explained a little bit. Some of you have known me from social media for a while. I'm a little wild, as you know. So finally, I'm excited that I'm doing this every Sunday because this is from my soul. I do run Sex and Judgment, but Sex and Judgment, anything else creative I have created or I'm doing or continuing to do is coming from this place that I am explaining now, which is vast and large and amazing. And I hope that I can help you find that within yourself if you are seeking and asking questions you feel like you shouldn't ask because they're not right to ask, or you feel ashamed to ask. You don't have anyone maybe in your life you can talk to about these things. They're too abstract. You don't know how to articulate the stuff that you're feeling. It's just a big blob, and it's hard to find words to express it and organize the big blob. And I understand. I've been there. So that's what this is all about. Anyway. Hey, Demetrius Baker. You're a new face. Welcome. And I want to do a special shout out today, just in case people are watching from the TLS, the Luciferian Society. I'm a part of the Luciferian Society. I'm a high priestess, and I want to actually invite you to watch this every Sunday. Thanks for watching now, if you're watching now. And I hope that I can express a sort of a creative, funky way of being a Luciferian, walking out the path on the planet. There are all kinds of ways to be a Luciferian. There isn't one way. This is why the most important part of Luciferianism is knowing thyself. You have to know yourself. Lucifer is not a god to be worshipped. Okay, that is religion. Lucifer is the light of remembrance of your divine true nature within yourself. Because this is what I was talking about when we first started. It's the morning star. You know, it's like, imagine if you had amnesia and all of a sudden you woke up and you remembered something. That's what that is. When you have epiphanies. Epiphanies feel like you remembered something, right? Because your soul is ancient. And so your soul is remembering a piece of universal truth. And you have to follow that line and keep digging in the dirt. And that's what Luciferianism is. So whatever way that you're being called to uniquely express your divine truth and your true name, just surrender to it. And if you're seeking, it's asking you to surrender to that. So this is the way that I walk it out. I do all kinds of weird shit, and I use theater because I think it's fun, and like to explore these things in this way. So if you're watching, welcome, thanks. Welcome to Church on the B-Sides. And at the beginning, on my page, if you see the pinned video here, I really love this. This is a place for those who stumbled here and not for those who arrived on a chariot. Okay? Everyone who thinks they know everything, go back to your pedestals and stay there. Okay? But remember, the fall off of Cloud 9 is long and hard. Okay? Ask Humpty Dumpty. Okay? We all know nothing, and that's why we're here. Asking questions, right? So welcome. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited about today's episode. But before I do that, right? Before I do this, I gotta do this and this and this. Anyways, where's my shirt? Oh, it fell. Oh, here it is. So, nature is the truth here at Church on the B-Sides. And people who ordered this shirt, I just want to let you know that I have like one more spot left for the discounted price of $20, so let me know. Also, we have this guy here, and there's all kinds of ways to pronounce it. You know, I'm like, well, some people say Thoth, Toth. This is Hermes. It just depends. I mean, at the end of the day, there is probably a more correct way to pronounce Thoth's Hermes name. But at the end of the day, it's really more important that you understand the concept and the archetype of Thoth. Okay? It's more important you understand. This is the messenger, and this is the scribe of the emerald tablet. This is the scribe of wisdom, and that's what we're talking about the next 7 weeks, and we already went over mentalism last week, and it's the 7 Hermetic Principles leading up to Christmas, which is in 7 weeks. And I thought it was really important to talk about these 7 Hermetic Principles, which are the truth of nature. These are the unquestionable, undeniable truths. People always say, how dare you talk about it? I mean, I've already heard it, you know, I hear it all the time because I'm always talking about truth. And it's not my subjective truth. I have my subjective truth and you have yours. What I'm talking about are uncompromising truths, right? Gravity, if you throw the egg up in the air and it falls, it's going to do that for the Muslim cleric, for the Catholic priest, and for the Jewish rabbi. If you're outside and it's raining, you're going to get wet, no matter what part of the world you're from or religion that you subscribe to. Whatever your philosophy is, whatever your skin color is, whatever your sex is. These are all truths that are unquestionable. If you go to a lion and tell it to be a sheep, it's not going to be a sheep because it's a fucking lion. You can't do that. Would you ever want to negotiate with the lion? A hungry lion not to eat you. No, you just see the lion's hungry and you get the fuck out. Because I know to do that. Somebody in Africa knows to do that. Somebody in Mexico knows to do that. Okay, so why is it that we all understand these universal truths? Is because they're universal truths. They're unquestionable. And that's what we explore here is what is the damn truth? Let's go back to the basics of nature and let's review those laws, because those are the laws that are true. Those are the true laws. Laws of man are manipulated in order to serve power. People who seek power over man. Okay? And so to me, part of what's been going on, right, with religion is the manipulation of the masses towards consumerism, to giving up their power so that, and their sovereignty, which is I think the most blasphemous thing to do. All right, so let me see what you guys are saying here. Oh, Debbie's here. Hey. Awesome. Oh, yeah, well, Baker. I'm going to say Baker, okay, because I don't want to mispronounce your name, and I hope I said it right. Let me know. Demetrius. That's a badass name, right? I like it. Well, if those has been appearing for you a lot this past year, follow the correspondence. That's what we're talking about today. Follow the symbolism. What is that telling you? He's the messenger. He's also the person that's drawing you back to truths. You know, what is the ultimate truth? By what do you measure your assumed and subjective truth? Is it the morals of religion that you double check with to make sure you're doing the right or wrong thing? Or is it something that has more integrity than that? Okay, which is the uncompromising truth of nature. And this is what we're talking about here. Let's see. Terry. Okay, I got you. Okay, so I'm really excited about today because we're talking about the law of correspondence. Last week was the law of mentalism, which is the first law in the 7 Hermetic Principles. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about and you're lost, please, like Google 7 Hermetic Principles, look up on YouTube the 7 Hermetic Principles, and that way you can understand. But stay around today and listen, and then afterward, please take some time to look that stuff up. I really feel like if what you're hearing me say resonates at all with you, then it's like a little mustard seed, right? Take that and go plant it and go use your will to research and uncover things and ask why and ask why and ask why until you land at how, if that makes any sense. You ask why and why and why and why, and it unveils and unveils and unveils, and all of a sudden there's the question how. This is what happened to me. It could be different for you, but this is kind of how I go about that process, right? Hey there, from Florida. What's up? John's on. Debbie, we got some new people here today. That's good. So this is what we're talking about because I feel like today there's a lot of, and I know you guys were here with me last week, and I'm going to be redundant for some of the people that have just joined us. Okay, so bear with me, but it's important to remember these truths because right now there's so much chaos, and I talked about how we are living in the time of like the Tower of Babel, where we all speak the same language, but we don't understand each other still. Are you speaking the English? I speak in the English. You speak in the English. I speak in the English. Well, I don't understand you. I don't understand you. I don't understand you. I don't understand you. This is what is happening. It's not about not understanding our language. It's about misunderstanding each other. And sometimes people are willfully misunderstanding each other because we are not getting our own biases confirmed. Our egos don't like to be wrong. We don't want to be wrong. It's so boring. So the law of correspondence. This is the second week. This is my favorite one. Okay? It's my favorite one because, it's hey Kevin Johnson, welcome. I haven't seen you before. The law. I'm gonna say hello to you guys in a little while. I'm gonna keep going because I get excited when I see new faces. So I'm sorry if I'm just seeming like I'm rambling, but I get happy when I see new faces. So I'm gonna keep going for now, and then I'll go back and look through the comments. Okay. But so anyway, the law of correspondence is my favorite because it really is the beginning of the Mission Impossible mind. I talked about this last time, if you guys remember, that if we observe all of these laws and we never become masters of them all, because I feel like anyone who says they're the masters of the law of correspondence are just a bunch of narky pricks. and you don't know shit. You know, a lot of people that tell me they're masters, this and that. I'm like, bitch, I see this other thing you don't see. Why don't you see it if you're a master? Well, I guess you're not a master. I don't think I'm a master. So the day I die, I'm not going to be a master at it. It's the constant never being able to reach horizon. You can't reach the horizon, okay? It's there to draw you out of yourself continually more and more until you can reach your highest potential. But you'll never reach the horizon, all right? Correspondence is my favorite one because it really helps you start the Mission Impossible mind, where when you see one thing, you immediately understand and see all the correspondence as much as possible that is attached to this one thing, okay? And I like to share anecdotes with you guys because to me, that is the best way that I can share with you is through my own testimonies, my own life experiences, and how I came to see certain things so that I can show you how I came to see them. So do you guys remember, and there's some new people here, I talk about pretty frequently a really dark time in my life several years ago when I was living in New Orleans. And I talk about how I was in this darkness, right? And I was really starting to see the emperor with no clothes in a way I'd never seen it before. The farce of this whole system, the farce of this machine. And so I'll tell you about this one moment. I was walking in the kitchen and I was constantly thinking, and I know you guys can relate to this. If you're here, you're a seeker and you're a thinker and you're a philosopher. You're asking questions constantly and you can't stop. And this is what happened to me. I was asking questions constantly. And what I realized was, because I was a stripper at the time, and again, some of you guys here know this, some of you don't. I was a stripper at the time, and I started to notice that I was getting bullied a lot. I felt like the culture was changing in the strip club. Now, a lot of people will tell you, who understand this, who are in prisons, or who are in strip clubs, brothels, places like that are so deep behind the scenes of the machine. We are privy, people who work it and who experience these places. We are on the front lines, at the cultural front lines, and we get hit by the storm in a most concentrated way, more than anyone else who's sort of living on the A sides of life more than we are, right? And so we get to, if we're paying attention, you get to see the patterns change. So whatever's happening in a strip club or a prison, for instance, is a way to take the temperature of the reality of our society in a lot of ways. It's really, really true, because in a lot of ways we are the scum of the earth, according to people, right? So people do not think to censor themselves when they express themselves, when they come into those places. And so you get to see and hear and experience the raw nature of human beings, the darker nature of human beings, which to me is where the truth always is. It's in the darker nature, because that place is not trying to be anything than what it is. And so as I started to notice that the bullying was rising and the culture of strip clubs was getting worse and treating women worse by charging more for us, to pay to work. They were taking more of our tips. Customers were treating us more like shit, and they were expecting more for us to do things like sexual things, and then not wanting to pay for it. So there's like no money. They wanted more, and we had to pay more. So the exploitation was growing, and I started to feel like there's nothing more to give, that they want to kill us. Something in the atmosphere, that's what I was calling it, wants to kill me, wants to kill the women. It was like being squeezed, I felt like, from every side. And then I had this epiphany, which is a remembrance. This is what I'm just talking about. I had a remembrance. And I had this remembrance, and it was like epiphany, thinking, oh my God, everything, it feels like the feminine is getting squeezed in the spirit of the world that is the feminine. I felt this way. This is how I was explaining it to myself, was being attacked from all sides and squeezed. And now I feel like whatever this is that is squeezing me and squeezing the feminine is now asking for too much. It's asking for too much. And I started to get angry. And this is what opened me up to see the archetypes, the spirits, the forms. Plato calls them the forms of the earth, of the universe, of the world. And now I started to see beyond personality, but forms moving around, and realized now I knew what that saying meant about that the forces that are it's not about nations or people. It's about a behind the scenes energy that's fighting each other. This is why it's hard to pinpoint, because it's abstract. You can't grab it. It's manifested by the will of man. And if man is so unconscious, it doesn't know what it's manifesting. And it doesn't know what it's manifesting partly because of the great destruction of the mind that religion has done to man. It has said to man, you are not your sovereign being. Give me your sovereignty. Let me take care of you because you're too irrational to take care of yourself. And so this is what I started to understand. I saw these forms and these archetypes. And this is connected to the correspondence. I'm getting there. I'm just letting you know. I need to let you know this first. Because I like to share my own story about how I came to see these correspondences in my own life, these universal truths. So I started to see that we're getting squeezed as the feminine. And then I suddenly realized everything that's associated with the feminine principle, seems to be what has been exploited and commoditized and raped, enslaved, has been in bondage, has been put under the foot of man. And I started to see nature. That means nature. That means tribal people who are still living off the earth. Tribal people who have refused and are continuing to refuse to participate in civilization, right? People who still dare to live not off the law of man, but off the law of nature. And that includes darker skinned people of the earth. That includes women of the earth. So women, darker skinned people, tribal people, nature herself. I suddenly had this epiphany. And I saw the correspondence all through that one moment just hit me. And that epiphany. So I suddenly it blew my mind that the chaos was suddenly organized. And I suddenly understood what was going on around here. All from the experience of being a stripper, right? So then I was like, wow, that's pretty incredible. That this epiphany that I felt through my own body and my mind felt like it blew up, and it just, from that point on, a lot of things made more logical sense. Didn't make any ethical sense, in any moral sense. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying I understand now what has occurred. So then I thought, we are so afraid of our true nature because the feminine is what? The feminine in all of us is connected to unbridled nature, which is exactly what I feel like. And again, everything I say here is not the truth. I'm expressing my testimony to show all of you where and how I came to see these things, right? So then in my mind, I thought, wow, why does that happen? Why have we done this? Why has man done this? Because, control and everything we talked about, that's very kind of obvious once you unpack this, but something deeper than that. What are we afraid of? Are we afraid to be seen, as nature? Because we have been programmed to be ashamed of nature. If you really look at the way that tribal people are made fun of, right? They're uncivilized, they're savages. We're so afraid to be seen as not civilized. We're afraid to be seen as savage. We are afraid to be seen in our naked fucking truth. Because we are afraid that we will be shamed to death. All of that comes from religion. Let me look at this. My glasses. You guys, I have my glasses now with me 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to look at what you guys are saying here, okay? Yes, the underground, right. Let's see. The goal is to see the connections between all things until there are no more connections to see, and the realization that all is mind becomes clear. Right. Because you can't help but land there after you see. So at some point you cannot, it goes into an infinity, and then you can start to assume. It's like the negative zero and the positive zero, right? you can see the positive 1, 2, and 3. But over here we have the negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. When you go into those spaces of darkness, right? Which I'm going to talk about in a minute, more specifically around the law of correspondence. But yes, let's see, Terry. I went through a similar initiation about 10 years ago, seeing how much hatred of women is behind everything. Right. That's it. It is. It's because of this projection of the hatred and fear of nature, which is the fear of God, really, which I want to get into more. Oh, yeah, no, you were not the only one. Let's see. Demetrius Baker, I know exactly what you're talking about with that force that is anti-feminine. I experienced it firsthand a year ago. Wow. I'm glad I'm glad that what I'm saying is speaking to you. Yeah, Demetrius. I love that name. I'm glad that that's affirming. Not that you needed any affirmation, but I think it's always cool during these times when you feel like someone is saying something that you've experienced. It's exciting. All right, Michael, let's see. How most people are afraid to be seen naked, let alone as who they really are. Right. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Some kind of ghost just turned on my computer. Anyway. So yes, this is ultimately the fear of God. And why is that? I thought about this a lot, you guys, and you know, we could talk about the whole Freudian thing and Carl Jung. I mean, because this really started in those spaces with Freud and Carl Jung, because Freud talks about and I was watching this documentary, and I highly recommend it, you guys. Todd and I were watching it the other night on YouTube, and it's called the Century of the Self. Please, 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 please watch this. My friend Carmen suggested this to me about 2.5 months ago, and I knew parts of it, but and not the documentary, but it revealed and it shared information that some of the information I already knew. But to see then the new information come in and frame it for me, this is powerful. I would love it if you guys watched it, and we can talk about it in the new year, because this particular documentary talks about how the dangers of mankind basically being so unconscious, and how they could be easily manipulated as a result. And what's his name? Bernays? Edward Bernays. He's the founder of public relations. And his uncle was Sigmund Freud. And so what he did was he took the ideas of Sigmund Freud and he manipulated everybody. He was hired by government officials, by the president. At the time, was it World War II? World War I? World War II. And created propaganda. So after that whole thing was over and he came back to the States, he said, you know, he can't use the word propaganda in building a business. Like he's a propaganda master, or I can help you with propaganda. So he came up with a better way to say propaganda, and that is public relations. So this is what he did. There's so much I want to tell you about that, but I don't get off topic. Go watch it, and we can talk about it here. And I would love to talk about it with you guys as soon as possible, little bit by little bit on the way to Christmas or whatever, because this is connected to the correspondence. Because if we do not follow the -1 from our +1, and we don't follow the -2 or to our +2, and we don't understand what we are looking at, we are easily manipulated. And this is what has happened to mankind. This is what's continuing to happen now. And we are seeing the collateral damage, the incredible collateral damage of not knowing ourselves and not understanding these laws, these basic universal principles. And the correspondence is really a very powerful one. And so the correspondence of being afraid unconsciously of the feminine, which is what we're talking about here. I'm giving this as an example. There's so many. And I you know, I want you to share some examples that you have, but this is my most powerful one, because this is my experience in my life as somebody who's been on the front lines as a female, and been like hated on and projected upon, in all these different ways, and like with shame, like I'm supposed to feel ashamed of my experience, supposed to be ashamed of my body, ashamed of my sexuality, ashamed of my desires, ashamed of all these things because somebody has to hold humanity's shame. And so it's like we're ashamed of all things natural. When we are ashamed, and we are taught by the church to be ashamed of our natural selves, not just our naked bodies and our genitals and our sex and our desires, but in our shit and our butthole and everything else. Is like, be ashamed. You have to smell. I hate that when I walk into a toilet somewhere and then all of a sudden it's like you could smell shit smell with like cinnamon. Oh, why are you gonna spray cinnamon over shit? You can still smell the shit and all there's cinnamon on the shit. It's like everybody knows they're shitting, you know what I mean? Everybody shits. And it's just like, just accept it. We stink. We stink. We have bodily functions, that are not convenient to like, being prim and proper and better. But all of this is the civilization, to be civilized, is a result of, religion wanting us to rise above nature instead of integrate ourselves with the truth of nature. It's like this strange duality that you have to be one or the other, instead of being a perfectly integrated whole human. Accepting that you take dumps and that you can sing well, whatever. What if it's all true at once? And this is the problem. So the law of correspondence, for me, the way I came to see it was this way. And then I started to see, well, the night seems associated with the feminine principle. The moon seems associated with the feminine principle. So then you go beyond the color of someone's skin. You go beyond women, like biological women, women. And you go beyond now tribes that are still living off of the land and the laws of nature. And nature herself, the land, for instance, right? Oil, all these things that are being completely exploited for profit. And then now we go beyond that and we look into ideas, which is like darkness in general, which is the nighttime, which is the moon. Now, these connections are very connected to Western esotericism. It's not necessarily connected to Eastern philosophy or thought. In that way, I feel, again, this is me sharing where I'm coming from, and then let me know what you think, if this is what you see as well. But for me, the West represents the masculine principle, and the East represents the feminine principle. And if you look at the East, there's still patriarchy all over the world. It's not about not having patriarchy and that there's matriarchy over there, because that's certainly not happening in Japan, and that's not true. But they do have a different way. They have a different religion, and their religions and their philosophies are more based in feminine principles, like Buddhism and things like that. So in the East, they have a lot of sun goddesses, where the sun is associated with the feminine for them, whereas here the sun is associated with the masculine. And so it also depends, do you see what I mean? This way of understanding the connections, when you start to see women, nature, tribal people, dark-skinned people, the night, the moon, darkness in general, which is also death in the womb. All these things. How unconscious are we that we have projected the fear of our own nature, of that other half of us, because of unconscious fears of God, of death, of the unknown. Where did we come from? Where are we going afterwards? And we've projected this giant glob of fear and manifested it in all of our institutions and our systems and our laws and the religion that has been created through patriarchy, and the Abrahamic religion, and just sprawled everywhere. Do you see it? Do you see what I'm talking about? It blew my mind when I saw that. So that's really the example of for me, of the law of correspondence, where when you're able to observe the phenomena of how we behave in our society, and who is trampled on more. what are the groups that seem to be left out of the center more? What people? And it seems like there's a consistency there, right? But I think it changes. I think right now the white male is is the one that's in the center. And as we continue to shift power, it'll be really interesting to watch how
Give me 1 second.
okay. It'd be really interesting to can you turn it off?
I'm trying.
Oh, it just
There.
okay. You're trying off this thing on Twitch, so sorry guys for that little thing. You know, it's in my house. This is production in the house. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna be on Twitch soon. So that's what he's trying to figure out right now. So when I look to see who is being put under, who's being asked to shut up, who's not in power, who's disempowered, to me, it seems like it's all connected to the feminine principle. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Let me look this up. Okay, yeah, you see in Century of the Self, Michael. Let's see what Debbie says. My struggle has been in the corporate world, and when I see men for who they really are and not being afraid to challenge them, I am then condemned. I am targeted as an issue, not a team player, all in a specific campaign to get me out of the way to make them feel more comfortable. Yeah, and I think, in the machine, that's the classic way that women are experiencing the hatred of the feminine principle. This is certainly a projection of the hatred of the feminine inside the machine. And feminism was born out of that. There's so many things to say about that. Let's see, Terry, scented products are toxic too. Oh, shit grows plants. Right? Isn't that just a metaphor? We're going to make things pretty, like those sex dolls, right? We're going to fuck a bunch of fake fucks. But, and it's like, I don't know, man. I feel bad for everyone. It's like, nature is the inconvenient truth. Right. Nature is the inconvenient truth. All right, so here's my damn glasses again. Terry, many have resisted the colonization. It has been forced through violence and death. Right. And if it has been forced through violence and death, and the more and more you resist it, now you see the squeeze is bottlenecking, isn't it? People are getting pushed out into the streets, they're becoming homeless. The more and more resistance. So that is a violence, even though it's not a direct violence. Violence is an indirect, is a result, right? It can't help itself. It's squeezing people out who don't want to play the game. I'd recommend Crowley's 777, which is an encyclopedia of Kabbalistic correspondence that includes nearly all systems of thought. Oh, great. Thanks a lot for recommending that, Michael. I'm going to check it out as well. Oh, you like the feedback. Ha. Vegan. Let them fuck dolls. Yeah, the feedback was from the whole him working with Twitch and getting on Twitch. So vegan, yeah, vegan is another way to go, but there are also arguments as well that plants can feel are alive too, and they can feel things, and that trees can feel things, and so now we get into a discussion, right? That is that immoral to eat plants? I know people who eat seeds or things because they just don't want to eat anything that's alive. So it's about balance, right? How do we find the balance? Remember that the food industry is part of the machine, and the way they treat the animals is horrible. For instance, when I was staying over in Alaska, and I'm speaking to the person who brought up the whole vegan idea, Kevin Johnson. I was staying in Alaska for 2 summers, for like a month each summer. And I was staying with the Inuit tribe up there in Kotzebue. And for instance, those folks, they can't be vegan, right? they're not living in a postmodern world. They are living in the collateral damage of the industry that has left them behind. So they're so far behind, they can't catch up with today's society that's a version-driven society, which is high technology. They were left behind during the Industrial Revolution. So they're way behind. So they're not going to be vegans, for instance, right? They are still living off subsistence. They are still having to go whaling because that's how they survive in the winters. And so that idea of veganism is relative too. And we have to remember that not everybody is living in the same cultural and economic reality as we are. So that's important to mention as well. Okay, Godwin's Kabbalistic Encyclopedia as well. You guys check out the comments here because there's a lot of really great recommendations for further study and so on. Exactly, vegans and so what is the balance? I don't know, but I think that going back to the root of these things and exploring these truths that we're exploring now with the 7 Hermetic Principles, what that does is, this is what it does for me, and tell me if you can understand what I'm talking about. Again, what is right and what is wrong in accordance to what? What are we subconsciously and unconsciously measuring our assumptions up against? Do we know what is right and what is wrong? How do you know what is right and what is wrong? What has informed you? Or do you feel offended when I ask that question? If you do, take a look at why. It's common sense. What is common sense? What is common sense to you is not common sense to me or common sense to somebody else. There are so many assumptions that we make on a daily basis that prevent us from expanding and deepening our understanding. Right? Expanding and then deepening, expanding and deepening. And so this idea of veganism versus meat eating, it depends on a lot of variables, right? We can't assume that everyone is in the same space. Some people, like I said, don't eat plants because they're alive too. Where is the balance? We have to return to ourselves. We have to unpack our stuff till we get to that point where it's so, it's almost like surgery, you know? And you get to the most quiet place where it's quieter and quieter. And it gets so quiet that it's deafening. And then now you're really doing the work because you're like, wow, I didn't know I had all these other subterranean questions. I've been assuming and working from right here. And I thought that it was a deep depth. But it turns out that there's more. There's more, underground to explore. There's always more, isn't there? The work is never done. We have to keep on questioning our assumptions all the time in order to understand deeper. And then like Michael said a little while ago, that as we understand the correspondence and how one thing is connected to the next thing, and you understand what that thing is, by the time you know it, it goes out into this infinity place. And then at that point, if you've been practicing enough, then you can start to trust your assumptions. You can assume that negative 20 is going to be in the direct proportion to your positive 20. Does all of that make sense? That's connected to another law of the Hermetic Principles called polarity. And we're going to talk about that as well in one of the episodes coming up. So you can't talk about sometimes correspondence without talking about polarity, without talking about cause and effect, right? See, it's all connected. Let's see what you guys are saying here. I see Elizabeth has joined us. The issue for me, okay, here's Michael. The issue for me is that we have forgotten reverence for all life, the way the tribesman hunts and eats meat. Yes, thank you, because I was going to bring that up when I brought up the Alaska, Michael. Thanks. That's really the issue. So I was invited to go whaling with them. This was back in 2004, something like that, 2003, 2004. And I was living in San Francisco at the time. And was going up to Alaska for a project we were working on with the Inuit tribe. And was invited to go whaling. But I didn't go because I was afraid to throw up everywhere. I know it's sad, chicken shit. Maybe I should have. Now, whatever. I didn't go. It was a very sacred thing. So for them, going out whaling was a sacred ceremony. They always gave thanks to the whale, and they ate every single piece of it, including the fat. The fat is called muktuk. That's what it's called, muktuk, and it's a delicacy. I tried it and I didn't like it, but so what? We all have foods that we've grown up with that other people wouldn't like either. But the point is that it's a sacred animal to them, because a whale, it provides life for their village for the whole winter when in complete darkness. So talk about Luciferianism, going up there in Alaska during the winter time, when it's 24-hour darkness, complete just blizzard. And winter is another correspondence of the feminine principle, at least in the Western culture. Winter is another. We're deep in the feminine crone, coming into that in December and January and so on. And so people are afraid of the cold. They're afraid of the darkness. They're afraid of death. They're afraid of shame. They're afraid of nature. They're afraid of. Do you see? This is like the feminine principle. We're afraid of our mother. We're afraid of the mother. We're afraid of outer space. What the fuck is out there, right? And so this is all the deep fear of the root of our humanity. If we are so afraid of the very root of our humanity, what are we going to do with it? Right? Oh, you've eaten muktuk too, yeah. Let's see, steppers. Hey, what's up, Alexa? Oh yeah. Yes, he is. Alexa, I'm so glad you're here. So that is the thing about even with Native Americans. And I want to bring that up about Native people, right? We've romanticized the stories around Native America and Native Americans, and in some ways we have then now turned them into sort of lead us and save us, and I had kind of done that myself a little bit. Because it's like the desire to return to our natural selves, the desire to return to a place where you don't have to pretend, constantly, and it's exhausting, and it's a lie. I don't want to live my life as a lie. I don't want to lie to anyone. And anytime that I've lied to someone or not told the complete truth, is because I don't want to deal with the collateral damage of having to explain everything else. So it's like, at some point it's like self-preservation. So then become a hermit. And I know a lot of you guys understand exactly what I'm talking about. That makes complete sense. So your natural selves, your authentic selves, think about Native people who have not been, or tribal people anywhere, not just Native people here, but tribal people now anywhere else. Imagine like a corporate CEO sort of walking into their village. Very two different experiences. Why are we having to deal with niceties? Why are we pretending? Why? But the pretender is a result of civilization. It's a result of civilization to pretend to be something that you're not. But we don't even know we're doing it. They want to program you so that you don't even remember your true self. Your true self has been so far lost behind in amnesia somewhere that you'll never reach it again. And that's what the machine is betting on, that you completely forget yourself, that you completely abandon yourself. Who are you? What is your truest nature in all of its glory, in its negative and positive, in its darkness and in its light? Who are you as a fully integrated human being? What does that look like? And what does it look like if you could walk it out on the planet right now? What could you create without any shame, without any judgment, without having to deal with this constant, moving through manipulations, and it's really exhausting. And so the law of correspondence can help you do that. It's the art of war knows about the art of correspondence. Anybody who is a war general or who understands how people are in their truest nature, not how people pretend to be, has the highest possibility of winning that war. Now, I'm not just talking about generals and troops and war in the world, even though I am talking about that, but what about the war in your own life? How do you identify when you're the one who's not in integrity and when you are the one who's in integrity? And the law of correspondence can help you understand that. Was it Lao Tzu, right? From The Art of War? He says, know thyself, know thy enemy. The more you know yourself, that means the more brutally honest that you are with yourself. Completely brutally honest with yourself about your own shit. When I'm honest with myself about my own shit, my own weaknesses, this thing that keeps triggering me all my life, and I know why it triggers me, and there it is again, and there it is again. The more that you become acutely aware of your stuff and yourself and the why behind all of them, the more you become aware of that, the more you can see it outside of you and other people. And that's when Spider-Man shows up in my brain and says, along with great power comes great responsibility. Along with great power comes great responsibility. Again, just like Edward Bernays did, who is the founder of the public relations, he had a lot of power, and he knew a lot of the secrets of what's in mankind's minds and how they worked, because he was heavily influenced by his uncle, Sigmund Freud. And Freud talked about the unconscious self all the time. Now, a lot of times people will say, well, Freud is irrelevant now, in psychology. And and I've heard that a lot too. And I have another friend of mine who's a psychologist, and she's told me the same thing. And yeah, no, it's true. His theories have been proven, to be wrong. But understand that the society we live in now is a result of someone using his theories, knowing that humanity is unconscious, and manipulated humanity, created a public relations industry that created mass consumerism. This is how they're able to get even the integration of government and consumerism together, money and celebrity and politics together. What we're seeing now, this shit show, is all very Edward Bernays. So even though Freud's theories have been disproven, we are living in the result of that collateral damage of humanity not knowing itself, and as a result being manipulated like sheep led to the slaughter. It's terrible news. Oh yeah, I read something today that people lie for two reasons: to control the response of others and to mitigate shame. It's like, here, hold my hot potato, hold my hot potato, hold my hot potato, hold my hot potato. I don't want to hold my hot potato. This is why it's so much important than we went. I would also highly recommend The Act of Will. Freud disproven, LOL. It's like a fish in water, right? A fish in water that's wet. It's like, oh, you're wet. No, I'm not. Well, we're the fish in the water now. And we're saying that Freud's theories have been disproven. And they have, but here we are. Please watch Century of the Self. It blew my mind. Truly. It's 3:02. Oh shit, it's 3:02. Wow, I've been going on forever about this. So, anyway, I really want to impart to you to think about the law of correspondence, because think about some of the things that I said today, and let me know if you can relate to that. If you see these correspondences yourself in different places, in different ways. I know, Terry, you shared that. How to connect the dots. Because part of the unfortunate result of narcissism, which is what society is very much like now, a lot of passive aggressive, comments and people, and they don't know how to really come right out and express how they're thinking, because they're cowards, right? So, this kind of is a covert narcissism. It's mitigating of shame. It's manipulation. It's very easy to see when you have been doing the work And so it helps you with your self-preservation in the world, but it also makes sure that you have to have enough integrity to be responsible with this knowledge now, because this is the secret. These are the secrets that all the people that are asking you to vote for them, all the people in power, they know these secrets and they manipulate you with them. So what these next 7 weeks is about understanding that these are universal truths. And the more that we study them in ourselves, and the more we can look in our lives to see and practice them, put them to practice every day. Like, don't believe me. Go out in the world and look for yourself. I always say that. Look for yourself. Always test these things yourself. Make sure that it comes back as true for yourself. Don't ever believe me. Don't ever idolize anyone. And don't expect anyone to show up and save you. You are here to save yourself, and knowledge is the power. Because when we don't have the knowledge and we don't understand these secret universal truths, we are just waiting to be manipulated by them, okay? By people all around us constantly. People in your lives, even if they're unconsciously doing it, and certainly people in government. So read up on the law of correspondence. Thanks, Michael, for sharing the knowledge that you shared today. I appreciate that. I'm going to go back and write these things down myself. And check out Century of the Self. And practice the law of correspondence. See if you see what I see about the feminine principle out there in the world. Nature, dark-skinned people that are living off the land, the night, and look at how they've made the darkness evil, right? Darkness is evil. The witch is evil. Because these are all archetypes and things that are connected to the only powerful truths that truly exist, the truths that have been damned by the powers that be, so that you won't understand what the fuck is going on around here. The law of correspondence. Man, today flew by. I'm gonna let you.
Shit. Only 5 minutes.
Let's see what you guys have to say real quick. Let me see what they're saying.
Can you log into that though?
What?
Your screen.
I will in a minute. Okay. They've also been lived, yes. Hey, you guys. So, yeah, thanks. If I just rambled on today, I was really on fire because this is one of my favorite correspondences. It helps you to really see a lot of things at once. And it's going to lead you always to the law of cause and effect and polarity too. This is all, we'll cover those as well. And I probably will use the same examples so that you can see within the same examples all the other things happening, right? So go out this week and check out the law of correspondence, read about it, look on YouTube, and then look in your life. Do you see it? All right? And I really want to know, like, share with me next time. And yeah, so say bye to this guy. And then Larry has decided, you know, Becky just needs to, she needs a break. This poor girl. I'm going to go ahead and tell Larry it's too bad. Okay, you need a break. Everybody. Larry the Devil, he is my highest advisor. He's the best. And then we have Hermes. All right, folks. As within, so without. Exactly. You got the roots. You got, you know, the cosmic bodies out in the universe look like all of our cells within us. We're all connected, and we all hear that, how we are connected, and to know that is where power is, okay? Get the power and check your integrity. Get the power and check your integrity. That's what I always say. All right, guys. Till next Sunday. Thanks for watching Church on the B-Sides. Todd's going to take you out with music. And because we are doing this in my house. Are you going to play Watchtower?
Yeah, I'll play the end of it.
Okay, he's going to play the end of Watchtower, everybody. And I got to pull it up. Are you going to find it here?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. Hey, Becky needs a wake-up call. Let me tell you what. That's going to be a Church on the B-Sides conversation that's super B-Sides. Look at her. She's in denial. Bitch don't understand what's going on around here.
How did I lose this?
You got to turn it on.
That's got to go on. We are currently experiencing technical difficulties.
Did you find it?
Yes, I'm working on it.
All right. Ah, the Watchtower. Debbie, I'm so glad that you watched. You know what? This is the thing about working out of your house and just with your fiance and yourself on Sundays, is you don't have a production crew.
I don't feel like it's connecting.
You gotta turn it on.
What? I did turn it on. We're probably out of batteries. Ah!
No, it's on now.
You
You're turning it off when you put that on there.
Okay.
No, you just turned it off again.
No, it's on right now. Listen.
No, it's not. That's on. No.
You see, you can hear it?
Yeah, but it's not coming out of the speaker. Sorry, guys. See, now you're getting
Okay.
the behind the scenes of the B-Sides, B-Sides.
It's just not connecting.
All right. Never mind. Just play it a cappella.
Never mind!
Hi. All right. I love you all very much. Thanks for spending time with me today and for putting up with all this just a completely unprofessional shit. I appreciate it. Hope you guys had a good time, and we will see you next week. All right, bye. Oh, you're welcome, Michael. You're welcome, Terry. Hey, thanks all of you guys for showing up, okay?
Bye.
Bye.